And so my own, obviously, like you're making the claim about having a son, these types of things. The answer that I personally would have, and I may be wrong about this, but we believe as Muslims that having a son is not indicative of power, that having a son is actually a sign of weakness, because it is not befitting of God's unlimited, all-powerful nature to have a son in the first place. That the fact that God has a son is actually a sign of being of less status, because it indicates the fact that he would need a son. For example, right? That the Bible claims that that God sent down Jesus to die for our sins as a way of forgiving us, as a way of wiping out the sins of the world so that we could be reunited with him and we can have a connection with him. Correct?
How does God having a son show that he needs a son if he had one?
I'm just trying to explain it in terms you understand. So, like, do you agree that in the Bible, the narrative is that God sent Jesus as his son to come and forgive the sins of the world?
That has nothing to do with the problem that's being posed here.
It absolutely does. So in this sense, that you're saying that God is creating the son in order to do work on behalf of him, and that it is necessary.
We don't believe that the son is created. So that's, again, jumping to Christianity and a misrepresentation of what Christians believe and what the Bible teaches.
Okay, not created, incarnated in flesh. You believe that it was necessary to be incarnated in flesh in order for sins to be forgiven.
For us.
Why is that?
Because we needed a sacrifice, because we couldn't represent ourselves. We can't.
If God willed to forgive you, he could not forgive you on his own?
Well, he's just, so he has to punish sin. So he can't do that. But again,
sin impinges upon a person.
Respectfully, this is off the subject. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need to demonstrate to me how Allah having a son demonstrates that he needs a son.
So the Quran, in response to this in Surah An-Nisa, says that he is exalted above having a son. So what can we extrapolate from this? What does exalted above having a son means? It means that we are not making a claim whether he is physically capable of having a son or not. We're not making that claim.
Well, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. Is he capable?
But I cannot speak on that. The Quran verbatim does not say whether he can capably physically have a son or not. We can try to logically deduce ourselves, but I think that would be a disservice to my religion and disservice to the scripture to speak on something of my own logical conclusion and give attributes to God which he does not give to himself.
Well, the Quran is actually pretty clear on this. It says that he can't do it unless he has a consort.
Where does it say that?
6:101.
Would you like to read that for me verbatim?
Yeah, it says he is the originator of the heavens and the earth. How can he have a son when he doesn't have a consort? Okay,
that's great. So it presents it as a question to the response to people of Quraysh who make the claim that God has partners, God has children, God has sons. So this is one example of a specific response that God has to a group of people. This example of Quran is called Sabab ibn Nuzul. This is a example of God responding to a specific claim by a specific group of people.
Yeah, they wasn't claiming that he had a companion, like he had a girlfriend. That was his.
No, they were claiming that he can have children, right?
Exactly.
And so the thing is that you have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says,
I know that it's a response against the pagans. I know. He's refuting their accusation that he has a son. How does he refute it? By saying that he doesn't have a partner to have a son with.
Absolutely. And so, yes, this is one example to make it understandable to the people of Quraysh how it is impossible for God to have a son. This is one example. Right. So it's important to understand that you cannot take one verse out of the Quran and then use it to become an absolute response to everything.
Well, I'm not.
There are verses in the... Can I finish, please?
Go ahead.
You cannot take one verse and say, okay, this is one response that God made to a specific claim, and this is the only response there is. Because there's other responses to this claim. It says that he has not been created and he does not beget, nor has he been begotten. It also says that he is exalted above having a son, and it also says that he doesn't have a mate. This is not an absolute saying that God is incapable of having a son without a partner. He poses it as a question to the Quraysh, with saying that you understand in a human sense, because he's speaking to humans here. He's not speaking to some all-knowledgeable other being. He's speaking to humans. And the humans, from their understanding, is that when you have a child, what does it require? It requires a man who is fertile. It requires a woman who is fertile. It requires sexual reproduction. It requires a 9-month carrying sentence. These are what these people understand. And so when these people also assume that God also has children, they're also making the claim in their eyes and in the eyes of the Muslims that they're making the claim that God himself is doing this. So God is responding to them and saying, how do you attribute children to me when I don't have a mate? Because in their sense, you need a mate to have children. It's a specific response to that.
All right, stop, because I'll let you talk for a very, very long time. So, no, you can't assume that they're the ones that they're saying that he has a mate. They didn't say that. They're just saying that he has a son. They never ascribe a mate to him. You never see that in the Quran. But you see them continuously ascribe to him daughters, right? Or children, whatever. So that's what you see them ascribe to him. His refutation, and you're right, they know in order to have children, or at least the Quran knows that in order for humans to have children, they need a mate to have a son. They need a mate to have kids. So how does he refute them? By using their own logic. He says, how can I have a son when I don't have a mate? So he's refuting them. Like it's impossible for him to have a son because he has no mate. And he doesn't have no mate because there's nobody equal to him, right? He's above that. So there's no one equal to him. And so therefore there's no mate for him to have. And therefore, since there's no mate for him to have, then therefore he doesn't have a son. So he refutes them. What does this all tell us? It tells us that he just showed us that in order for him to have a son, he needs a mate, which deposes, right, which is how he did the refutation. How can I have a son when I don't have a mate? So he's not all powerful. He can't do it by himself.
Yes, so there is like two methods in when it comes to interpreting any text. You can interpret something defensively, or you can interpret something offensively. In the sense, you are taking a more offensive interpretation in the sense that you're reading the Quran through a Christian lens. And I agree that if you want to twist this verse in that way, you definitely
twist it. Rain, did I twist it, or did I just read it?
I think you're interpreting it in a way that it was not intended to be interpreted in. And I don't think any book of tafsir ever says this. If you can tell me a book of tafsir that actually interprets it this way,
when you read the tafsir in Ibn Kathir, he actually breaks it down exactly how we just said it. That he's refuting.
But does it say that God is incapable of doing certain things? That's what I'm saying. I cannot specifically,
but what he says is
that's exactly what I'm saying. That saying that he can't do one thing because of the result of another does not result in an absolute refutation.
Let me show you what Ibn Kathir says. Ibn Kathir says he understands it this way. That guys, please, you don't have to mute him. It's okay. It's okay, Christina. You can go ahead and unmute your mic, right? It's okay. So Ibn Kathir says it. He says not that that Allah is incapable of having a son. He doesn't put it in those words.
Exactly.
However, what he does say is that this shows that he doesn't have a partner. All right. He doesn't have somebody to partner with, a companion with, to have a son with. Right. And so therefore, he doesn't have a son. So this accusation that Allah has a son is futile. It's wrong. Like, he understands it that way, that this is a refutation to that. Now, the problem is, Ibn Kathir doesn't take it all the way to its logical conclusion, but I will. I'm taking it all the way to its logical conclusion. That Allah, in this verse, makes it clear that he is incapable of having a son without having a mate, which completely refutes the pagans. Because in order to have a son, you need a companion. You need somebody to mate with. Allah says he doesn't have that, so he can't have a son.
Yes, because he is exalted above having children, and he is exalted above having a mate, which you just said. He's more powerful than to have a mate. There are no equals to him.
No, it's not about powerfulness. This shows that he's not powerful enough to have.
That's what I'm saying, that you cannot take one verse and use it as an absolute refutation to a single argument when this same argument has been refuted multiple times throughout the Quran.
All right, so I need this. Wait, what argument specifically? I'm sorry. What argument is being refuted?
The argument that God cannot have children. This was refuted many places across the Quran with different refutations. And so you have to look at them holistically, not just one by one.
Wait, just a second here. Okay, let's talk about your view of befits, right? Befits, because it talks about how he's above having a son. It doesn't befit him to have a son. Befitting, or something not fitting somebody to do something, just means that they're above doing that thing. Their status is higher. To do something like that is to lower their status, right? It's to, it doesn't befit them to do so. Like, for example, does it befit a king to sweep and mop a palace, right?
I think a humble king should.
Does it befit a king to do so?
Absolutely. I don't think it contradicts the idea of a king to be a servant in and of itself.
I agree, but does it befit the king to to sweep and mop the palace? Is that what a king does? Is that his job?
I'm just going to grant this to you for the sake of the argument, but there's a logical flaw in this example. You could probably bring a different one that's better, but I
don't think that there's a logical flaw in this example, because we're just talking about status. Because I think that we both agree that a king has the ability to sweep and mop the palace. But I also think that you and I can agree, if we're honest, that it doesn't befit the king to sweep and mop the palace. That's for the servants to do. Could we agree there?
So there's an example I can actually bring from the seerah of Prophet Muhammad that the kings and the leaders of the Quraysh tribe would personally hand out water to the Hajjat, the people making pilgrimage. They would feel this as a great honor to go and serve other people. And this was befitting of a king at that time, to go and serve others and do the work that people thought servants should do. The kings actually did it themselves because they thought that it was a way to honor people, honor their tribe, and honor themselves. The kings are not actually above service. Kings also serve themselves.
Do you have a hadith that shows a king sweeping and mopping the palace?
I just told you we have hadith from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you want to read the sealed nectar of the people of Quraysh, the kings, the leaders of Quraysh went and handed out cups of water to the Hajjat.
Yeah, handing out cups of water is not sweeping and cleaning
It's equivalent in their sense. They didn't have a palace. That's an act of service. It's an act of service that servants usually do. When you say someone brings water,
no, that's a false equivocation. You're saying that them going out and serving water is the same as a king going down and sweeping and mopping the palace floor.
That's the equivalent of the Quraysh society. They didn't have a palace floor.
That's a false equivocation that you're making.
Not a false equivocation. It's two people who are of exalted status doing work that servants usually do. That's a perfectly logical.
So to you, it befits a king to mop and sweep the palace floor. All right, no problem. Does it befit a king to ride in his own to ride the horse of his own carriage? To drive his carriage instead of riding it.
Can we just get to the point?
Well, I'm trying to find a common ground.
Can you just give me your definition of befit and we can talk about it?
I did. So a befit means something that is fitting to a status of a person. Okay, that if something doesn't befit them, that means that thing is it's below them to do. Not that they're incapable of doing it, but it's below them to do that thing. Would you agree that that's what befitting is?
You could say that.
Okay. So just because something is not befitting of someone doesn't mean that they are incapable of carrying out that action, carrying out that task, or doing that thing. Allah, it not befitting Allah to have a son does not mean Allah is not capable of having a son. You know, it just says that he's above doing that. He wouldn't do that. Not that he can't. Right. So
yeah, can I just be honest? Like, can we just you know what I mean? With this, I personally cannot speak to exactly what God can and can't do. Because in this sense, right, that this question itself is kind of confusing because how do we define son? I think we can both agree that God the Father, what you believe is God the Father and Allah are kind of the same sense in the sense that they are the one without that is the highest. Kind of has the hierarchy, the Father is greater than I in that sense, that the Father is kind of what we think of as Allah. And in this sense that we don't believe that they like Allah in and of itself has DNA or these types of attributes. So what actually is a son? Is a son just is a son in the sense that the Christian church is mentioning the son as a physical manifestation of God himself? Is it a son in the sense of paternity, as in having your DNA injected into another human being with a father and a mother, because we know that it takes 48 chromosomes to make a human being. So the question itself is a little confusing in that sense. I'm just being honest here. This isn't an argument, but in that sense, you kind of have to define son in order to make this make sense. So
now we're at the place where now we don't know what son means. When Allah says that he's above having a son, where he says that he needs a mate to have a son. Now we don't know what son means. And this is where, when it comes to these type of discussions, it illuminates more and more the the false narrative of the Quran, man. This stuff is supposed to be clear. It's supposed to be detailed.
I think it's really clear that God is one. He doesn't have any children. He doesn't have any partners. He doesn't have any people associated with him. I think that's the clearest thing ever. And it gave me a lot of peace. It makes a lot of sense to me. It makes me a better person. And so
that's fine.
I think in that sense, like you calling it confusing, I mean, the people make the same argument about the Bible, right?
No,
to a sense,
I didn't say this was confusing, right? You did.
You said it was confusing.
No, you just said it was confusing. You said that this question is confusing because now you got to actually dive into how you define son. What does son mean?
Yeah, because you're making me argue on a hypothetical that will never happen. Can God have a son? Can God have a son? There's no point in diving into that hypothetical because he will never have a son.
But that
and
is
so when you try to bring in things that are not evidenced in the Quran, in the Hadith, and the Tafsir, then it's difficult to argue around it because I have to sit here and do logical jumps when it's not explicitly written. Can God have a son? Is not logically and explicitly written in the Quran. So now I have to go and start doing logical definitions with you and establish a basis to build off of.
Rain. Who brought up this hypothetical? Do I bring up this hypothetical or does the Quran bring up this hypothetical?
No, the people of Quraysh brought up the hypothetical and then Allah responded to them.
No, even Allah brings it up himself, even without them, even without responding to them. He brings it up himself. He brings it up multiple times of him having a son, the hypothetical of him having a son. He even says that if he had a son, say to Muhammad, he says, say, if Allah had a son, I'd be the first to worship him. That's 4381. So Allah is the one bringing up and dealing with these hypotheticals, not me. I'm just thinking about them and bringing the questions out when Allah is the one who brings up these hypotheticals. You know?
Hypothetical here. If it's within,
you were paused, Rain. I didn't hear what you said. Whenever you're like off the app, I can't hear you.
Oh, I was looking up the verse you mentioned.
Okay. If you want to take a second, like we can take a second and look at it.
No, but basically what I'm saying is the hypothetical is not whether God has a son or not. That's what Allah is responding to. It's saying, say if Allah has a son. It's about if he has a son, not if he can have a son. So these are two different things.
That's that one. The one
We're
that
talking about capability versus attribution.
Yeah, no. So the one that the one that I just brought up was attribution. The one that we've been talking about this entire time in chapter 6:101 is about capability.
It's not about capability.
It is, because he says, how can?
He's saying you're making it about capability, but that was not the intention or the interpretation of the scholar.
Well, it is the intention, because it's showing that it's impossible for him to have a son since he has no mate, thus refuting the pagans that he has a son. He doesn't have a mate, so therefore he can't have a son. So stop saying he has a son, guys. He can't do it. He doesn't have a mate. That's the argument.
Brother, I think the argument is that he is exalted above having both. Allah
That's fine.
Because having a physical son requires 48 chromosomes, a male zygote and a female zygote. And Allah is exalted above having all these things.
And having a physical hand takes DNA and veins and things of this nature, but you believe Allah has a hand, right?
Not in a physical sense. This is a difference about the
Beautiful. So why can't Allah have a son in a non-physical sense?
That's why I said you have to define son. What is a son? So exalted is he above having a son because there's no need for a son in a non-physical sense. What is a son in a non-physical sense? There's no need for
anything, bro. Like nobody's addressing need. I'm not saying that Allah needs to have a son. That's not my argument.
So that's why I'm saying that the Quran does not speak about whether he can do this or not.
Yes, it does. It said, look, if I were to say, I'll bring up the last example that I brought up with the previous guest. You probably heard it. If I say, how can I drive the car when I don't have the keys? Based on that statement, what do I need in order to drive the car?
See, this is actually an example I wanted to bring up because this is an example of you taking one verse and extrapolating it against the entire.
Come on, bro. Come on, Ray.
Brother, what do you need to have? What do you need to drive a car? You need keys. You need gas. You need a battery.
All right.
You need all sorts of things.
Nice.
But here's another thing. If you can fly, why would you drive a car?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Nice.
Allah is above having a mate. Allah is above driving a car. Allah is above having a son. He is exalted above these things.
But you're still not dealing with this. Based upon my question, right? Based upon my statement, what am I saying I need in order to drive the car?
But I'm saying that Allah in this sense is not giving an attribution about himself or his needs. He's giving an attribution to a people so that they may understand. That to imply someone has a physical son is to imply that they have a mate. And so this is a false equivalency in that sense.
You're not answering.
I just answered it. I said to imply something has a physical son in that sense, to have a physical walad, that this is to imply that they also have a physical mate, because that's how human anatomy works. To have a son,
Allah says so Allah is saying,
and so he's putting it in terms in which they understand.
So Allah
because what does it mean to be exalted above something?
I got you. So in order for Allah to have a son, he would need a physical mate in order to have a son.
To have a physical son, humans need a physical mate. And so he is putting it in terms that humans can understand because he's responding to a Qurayshi people.
Right.
To assume that a physical son is present in all
requires
generalities. So to make it capable to understand to the Qurayshi people that to have a son usually requires a mate for these people. And so if you're going to ascribe a son to Allah, that means you also are ascribing a mate to Allah. But Allah is exalted above this. No, and so you cannot do this.
Why are you adding to the Quran? Don't do that.
I'm taking every single verse in context. That's what I'm saying. You're taking one verse and making assumptions about Allah, but he refutes these in other verses.
Rain, you're not even listening to what your own Quran says. You
absolutely am. I'm just quoting it, and you don't want to accept the explanation because it refutes your point.
Rain, respectfully, you refuse to answer my analogy, the question I asked based on my analogy, because you know the answer to that. Everybody in the comment section knows the answer to it. You know the answer to it.
You have your own. I'm not going to argue with your comment section, fam.
Well, I'm just saying, everyone knows this. Everyone, even you know this. But for some reason, you refuse to answer the question, I think because you know what it would lead to. If you were to answer my analogy when I asked,
please don't put words in my mouth.
Based on my statement, what am I saying I need? Well, if I say, how can I drive the car when I don't have the keys? What am I saying I need to drive the car? You know that I'm saying I need the keys. You know that. So when Allah says, how can I have a son when I don't have a mate? You know that Allah is saying he needs a mate in order to have a son. Therefore refuting the people because he doesn't have a mate. Therefore he doesn't have a son. Showing that Allah is not all powerful, man.
That does not show Allah is all powerful. It shows that he is exalted of having this mate that that people are attributing to them.
Being exalted has nothing to do with your power. Being exalted, exaltation has to do with status. Has to do with status, not innate ability. You can have a high status, like for example, it's not befitting, or the CEO is so highly exalted that he's not the telemarketer of the company. He's not going to be on the phone calling. It doesn't befit him to be on the phone talking to customers about trying to get leads. He's far above that. He's the CEO of the company, not a telemarketer of the company, right? That doesn't mean that the CEO doesn't have the ability to go in the office, move one of those dudes out the way of the post, put the headphones on and say, hi, this is how may I help you? He's able to do that, even though it doesn't befit him as the CEO to do that. So exaltation is about status, not ability. Right here, we're talking about ability. Yes, he's above having a son. I'm not addressing that. I'm addressing his ability to have one in the first place. And here he says he can't unless he has a mate.
Do you understand that I'm saying you cannot take one verse and use it to holistically apply an attribution without looking at the rest of the verse on the subject, right? One of Allah's names is Ahad, one. That means he cannot be divided. He cannot be split into parts. And so when he says he is Subhan, he is exalted above something, he is giving a humanoid version of how they expect sons to be created and saying, okay, you're claiming I don't have a son. Mm-hmm. I can't have a son. I also cannot have a mate. Okay. So usually sons come with mates. I don't have either. Why? You look in the rest of the Quran, because he is exalted above these things. That Allah has these attributes, and having these attributes does not make him any less powerful. If you ask Allah to do anything, if you watch the creation, Allah created the heavens and the earth. He is exalted above all of this. He is exalted above having a mate. He is exalted above having a child. And so it's not saying that he cannot do anything. And also, I want to just point out a logical fallacy within this, that's saying, for example, as I said before, like, can Allah create a rock so heavy he can't lift? it's a contradiction within the question. Can Allah attribute something that does not befit his nature? Can Allah engage in a contradiction? Because doing these things would contradict his nature of ahad. It would contradict his nature of being all powerful.
I was waiting on you to say that. I was waiting on you to say that. So you're saying that it is a logical contradiction, and a logical contradiction to Allah's nature to have a son, just like it's a logical contradiction for him to be able to create a rock so heavy that he can't live. You're saying that that's the same thing?
In a sense.
Okay. So if that's a logical contradiction and it goes against his nature and you're saying Allah can't do it, then why does Allah say he can if he wanted to? Why does Allah say if he wanted to have a son, he could?
Where does it say that?
In chapter 39, verse 4.
Let's look at it.
If you're basing this off of the idea that Allah's not able to go against his nature, well, he just told you that he can go against his nature. Unless he's not telling us the truth, I guess.
What I said was that he was exalted above doing these things.
Yeah, but you said that he can't go against his nature. Like him having a son is equivalent to him creating a rock so heavy that he can't live. That's a logical contradiction. So you're saying that that's the same thing. It's in the same ballpark. It's a logical contradiction. It goes against the nature of Allah to have a son. It logically contradicts his nature. Allah says he can logically contradict his nature then. He says he can have a son if he wanted.
In the sense that he says, right, that you need these two things to have a child in most senses. And he says he is exalted above doing this. Now, I may have misspoke in saying that it is a logical contradiction, but that is not from Islam. That is from me. That is my own deficiency.
Fair enough.
And so if I made that mistake, and that's why I said like in a sense, because I don't know exactly how to make those jumps and make those equivalencies. I can make an argument on behalf of Islam with the Quran. If I make my own issues within logical reasoning, that's my own fault. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect. That's why I said I'm an issue. And if anyone wants to, fault me for this, that's okay.
No, you having this type of attitude is admirable. And I hope that everybody, especially the Christians listening to this, I hope that you guys honor this person because he's humble enough to say, you know what, maybe I misspoke on this. And,
yeah. So I misspoke about.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I misspoke about a logical argument. I did not misspeak about the Quran, and I did not misspeak about Allah's attributes.
All right.
And so this does not disprove Islam. It does not disprove Allah's attributes. It just proves that I have a issue within my own logical reasoning in that sense, and I spoke and said something I shouldn't have said. Okay.
So going on now further with this. So now we see that I guess having a son does not necessarily go against Allah's nature. It's not a logical contradiction. However, he is above doing it. And we already get that. He's above doing it. He's above having a son. It doesn't befit him to do this. However, it says that he could if he wanted to. Now there's also a caveat with this though. He could if he wanted to, but he would need a mate to do it. So he would have to create for him a mate.
So what I'm saying is that you're interpreting this verse very literally.
That's what it says.
But I'm saying that Allah obviously does not attribute to himself a mate.
Which is why he can't have a son by himself. He needs help.
But it doesn't say that he can have a son by himself. Does it say in this verse that had God's will been to have offspring, he would have gotten a wife and then he would have had children?
Oh no. So see, this is where your idea of taking the Quran as a whole comes into play. Because here he says he can have a son if he wanted to. Right? He doesn't mention how. He just mentions that he can do it if he wanted to. Now, the how comes in 6:101. How can he do it? With a mate. That's the only way he can do it.
Yes, but he is exalted above having a mate.
I got you, which means that, and that's fair. He's exalted above having a mate.
So can I
speak? Which means that, but he can't have a son without a mate. That's the only point.
But that I'm telling you that he is not saying within his own capabilities. He's trying to relate it to the people of Quraysh. That's the way that I'm interpreting, and that's also the way that Ibn Kathir interpreted it as the way that you said. You said that he didn't make that jump to say that Allah needs right? The way you explained it, you said that
he
did not
doesn't
mention it like
yeah,
this.
he doesn't make the leap explicitly saying that Allah needs a mate to have a son. He doesn't say that explicitly, but that's, he doesn't say it explicitly, but
that's what I'm saying, that when we make these jumps and try to attribute things to Allah, that which He does not say, we step into the gray area, in which we're trying to make.
This is a gray area. This isn't a gray area. This is super clear. It's so clear to me. Like,
I mean, if it was, I'm not. I think we've established, like, I'm not stupid. If it was super clear, I would admit it. I'm not here to lie.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because this is something.
What am I gaining?
Look. You're right. You are an intelligent young dude, but at the same time, you being intelligent and you're humble at the same time. You got a lot of qualities working for you, Rain. You got a lot of qualities working for you. However, that doesn't mean that you're willing to admit everything. I don't think so.
But I'm saying that for me, as a person, right?
Yeah.
I used to be Christian. I did. I promise you, I can show you all the proof you want.
We're gonna
make that face all you want.
Show me, Rain. I'll FaceTime
you.
You got to show me pictures of your baptism. Y'all about to see it.
Dude, I will send you a video of my baptism. I swear to God, I was.
Okay.
And so I am a person who genuinely seeks after the truth in God, who genuinely did his research, who genuinely spent time with high scholars of the church. I'm not talking about I was watching Sam Shimon on YouTube trying to learn about Christianity. That I sat there with church fathers. My mother worked at the church. I stayed there 4 days out of the week. I went to youth group. I went to church every Sunday. I learned as much as possible. And it was the main issues that I did have and led me towards Islam also caused me to be very, very devout when it came to Islam. And I did my research. I studied. For the past 2 years, I've been studying. Alhamdulillah. I still don't know a lot because I'm new. But in that sense, that if there is something wrong and I was being disingenuous, I wouldn't lie. I promise you I wouldn't. And that's why I was able to admit that I made a logical mistake. But I'm telling you that Ibn Kathir, in this sense, also agrees with me. That this does not, you cannot jump and make that conclusion based on this.
No, that's what I'm correcting you on. Ibn Kathir doesn't agree with you. The only part that he agrees with you on is that Allah is above having a partner, and that he's showing that he doesn't have a partner, right? And he's above that, and he's above having a son. However, he relates him having a partner to him having a son. Okay. Now he doesn't make the jump and say, and come to the conclusion that Allah is incapable of having a son without a mate. He doesn't say that explicitly. However,
yes, because that conclusion cannot be jumped from that. That's a different subject.
No, it's not a jump.
If we're going to speak on Allah's capabilities. Speaking on Allah's capabilities versus speaking on human capabilities are two different things.
All right, yeah. When Allah is talking about how can I, he's talking about his own capability, right?
I'm saying that he's speaking to humans in a sense that they would understand.
Yeah,
so
he's speaking to humans about his ability, right?
He's speaking to humans. So, like I said before, right? When humans need to have children, when I said humans need to have children, they need a mate.
Rain, help me.
And so in order to have children, in a human sense, you need a mate.
We know he's talking to humans.
And Allah is exalted above having both.
Rain, he's talking to humans about his own ability, right? When he says, how can I? Talking to humans.
He's not saying ability. He's talking about his attribute. How can I?
Whenever you say how can, is that not dealing with ability? Give me an example of a how can statement that's not dealing with your ability.
That's why I'm saying that it's not in a sense of ability. It's in a sense of exaltation when you use it in light of the other verses.
Do it for me. Do it for me. Give me an example of a how can statement that's not dealing with ability.
Would you like me to go and look through and find that for you? I mean, I don't know exactly what this, I'm trying to understand, like, if we want to have like a difference, agree to disagree on this, we can do it. But I'm telling you, and I don't think you're getting it, that making the logical jump from him in his nature not doing something, he's asking them, how is it possible a son to be created without a mate, Allah is exalted above having both.
He doesn't say that, unfortunately.
But that's how I'm interpreting it in light of the other verses.
Nice. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Look, let me actually repeat your argument, your position. I'll stillman it to show you that I understand what you're saying. You're saying that this verse, it's not talking about what Allah is not able to do. It's not talking about what he's not capable of doing, but it's talking about his majesty in that he is above having a mate in the first place. And he's above having a son in the first place. And so the other verses surrounding this subject talk about how Allah, it doesn't befit him to beget a son. It doesn't befit him that you should ascribe to him a son. He's above that. So here it's referring to really Allah's majesty in him being above having a mate. There's nobody equal to him. There's no one with him. And so he's above that. Is that your position?
So I swear someone called me in the middle of you talking and it cut out a part. I swear to God. Someone FaceTimed me for like 2 seconds. You said that, is it my position that God is above having a mate? This is my position, yes.
Yes. So I just want you to know that I am able to stillman your position. I can strengthen it and like show you that, yes, I understand fully what you're saying. I understand fully your position. I'm not misrepresenting you. I'm not confused about what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Here's my position, okay? I am aware that all that verses surrounding this topic talk about Allah being above having a son and above having a partner, having a companion. I understand that his status is above that. However, status does not deal with capability. So my argument is
that's why I'm saying I cannot.
Wait, let me finish. I know I'm not asking you to. I'm just stating my position. Just like I stated yours, let me state my position. Okay? I understand that he is above that, which is not my argument. My argument isn't about Allah's status and majesty. My argument is about his capability. When he, in this verse, and all the other verses, he addresses his ability. His status. There's a few verses where he addresses his capability, like the one I showed you about, where he says, if he wanted to have a son, he could. He has the ability to. He addresses his ability there. Here, again, he addresses his ability to have a son. But here, he says he can do it with a mate. Yeah, like he can't do it without a mate. That is my issue, where he's not talking about how he's above having a mate, even though other verses say he is. But here specifically, he's dealing with his ability and says, how can I have a son when I don't have a mate? So it's not capable for Allah to have a son without a mate. That's my problem.
That's your interpretation. That is, it's not possible. You're saying it's not possible for Allah to have a son without a mate.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that's not what this verse is saying.
I know.
We have a difference of opinion. If the tafsir also does not say this in that logical jump, that he's not capable of having a son without a mate. So there's no Islamic source that says this directly. There's no Quranic source that says that.
The Quran source says it directly. That's all. That's my point.
But if the Quran source is being interpreted by classical scholars who are of the utmost knowledge about these subjects, then how can you say your interpretation, your extrapolation is better than theirs?
See, you're assuming that Ibn Kathir goes against my position. He doesn't. He doesn't address my position. He doesn't. He's look, let's just go to what Ibn Kathir says real quick. Let's just go to what he says really quick, man.
Can you give me the verse number again, please?
Chapter 6, verse 101. Okay. So look. Gotta take my screen off, man. you're making me work.
I'm sorry.
All right, so look, this is Ibn Kathir. This is a tough steer. Okay, I have the abridged version in English, so there might be more in the Arabic. I don't know if you know Arabic, you may be able to bring that out or something, but well, for now, this is what we have, okay? So look, when he addresses this, how can he have children when he has no wife, right? He says, for the child is the offspring of two compatible spouses. Allah does not have an equal. None of his creatures are similar to him, for he alone created the entire creation. Allah said, and starts talking about, they say that he begot a son. Indeed, you have brought forth a terrible things. Starts quoting that Surah 19, yada, 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 right? So he has created everything and is all knower of all things. How can he have a wife from his creation who is suitable for his majesty when there is none like him? How can he have a child? Look, how can he have a child then? Verily, Allah is glorified above having a son. So even Ibn Kathir understands this. Look, he doesn't have anyone equal to him. He doesn't have a suitable partner to have an offspring with, right? So therefore, he can't have a son, and is above doing this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what I'm saying in this sense is that it doesn't speak explicitly on Allah's capabilities. That can he not do it by himself? It doesn't say that. It says as another line of argumentation against the Quraysh that there's multiple lines of argumentation Allah uses. First, he's exalted. Second, that he is the originator. Second, that he doesn't have a mate, because these are all things to frame their understanding. But you see that when Allah is addressing specifically the believers, he uses different terminology. And so when it comes to Allah saying that how can I have children, or how can he have, it doesn't say how can I, it says how could he have children when he has no mate.
It's Allah speaking, right?
Well, the entire Quran is the speech of Allah, yes.
Yeah.
But it's a response. So here, Allah is telling the Prophet to relay to the people of Quraysh, right? Because this is an example of sabab of nazul, right? A reason for revelation where the Quraysh made a claim and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the Prophet sallallahu a response to the Quraysh.
Exactly.
A refutation.
Yes.
And so to say that he is the originator of the heavens and the earth, how could he have children when he has no mate? What I'm saying is I understand where you're coming from. But the interpretation of the tafsir does not say that he is incapable of having a child without a mate. It's saying that because these people are used to the concept that a child is the result of two suitable spouses, and Allah does not even have a spouse. Even if you wanted to attribute children to Allah, you couldn't, because Allah does not have a spouse.
Brother.
In that sense. It's not saying that it is impossible for do certain things, because we cannot speak on whether and what Allah can do.
This is not
in that sense.
I'm sorry.
We cannot understand exactly what
Ibn
he can do.
See, notice how you said what Ibn Kathir is not saying. That's not how he interprets it. He doesn't say that he's responding to it in a way that they understand. No, this is a straight up response to refute.
No, I'm saying that is how you understand sabab of nazul.
But that's not what Ibn Kathir says here. Look, Ibn Kathir even understand. Look, just please.
Brother, I'm trying to give you the connotation of what sabab of nazul means. It is for the Quraysh to understand. It is not for the believers. It is not. It is not addressing a believer's claim. It is addressing anyone else's claim. It is addressing specifically the claim of the Quraysh.
Well, is this not addressing anyone who says that he has a son? Is this not addressing any of them?
I'm saying that in this specific example, who is Allah talking to? He's talking to the people of Quraysh.
That's true.
And the people of Quraysh can also, if we would like to, look at the hadith in which the context in which this verse was revealed, because they do have those. I haven't looked into it myself. Brother. I haven't looked into the actual complete circumstance of where this was revealed. It is known that, okay, so where is the hadith about the claim of the Quraysh? Do you know what the claim of the Quraysh was?
That he has children. Specifically that he has daughters.
Like verbatim, I was asking, but it's okay.
So look, bro, This is look at there how he interprets this. How can he have a children when he has no wife? He breaks it down. For the child is the offspring of two compatible spouses.
Yes.
Allah does not have an equal. None of his creatures are similar to him, for he alone created the entire creation. So he goes on to back up that with verses, so then he completes it. He created everything, and he is knower of all things. How can, there's ability again, he have a wife from his creation who is suitable for his majesty when there is none like him? When there is none like him, how can he have a child then? Verily, Allah is glorified above having a son. In order for Allah to be able to have a son, he would need an equal mate. He doesn't have an equal mate, therefore he can't have a son.
Yeah, I'm saying this is a refutation. He's not making a claim that he cannot have a son by himself.
Okay, then his refutation is not valid then. For him to use that as a refutation, for it to not be a true valid refutation, is silly.
Well, that's your classification of it. It obviously worked because almost all the people in Quraysh converted to Islam.
No, imagine this. Wait, hold on. What was my topic? Imagine this, Rain. Imagine Allah is addressing the refutation of the pagans. The argument of the pagans. He's addressing it, and he's coming to refute it. But he's using an argument that actually doesn't work because he can actually have a son without a mate. He doesn't need a mate to have a son. So
but they didn't know that.
They didn't claim that he had a mate.
That's what I'm saying, that the Quraysh were pagans. They didn't understand. They were idol worshippers.
They didn't
and so
claim
many
he had
times
a mate,
they would claim things that were not true. They would claim that idols are God. They would claim that angels are women and daughters of God. They would claim all these crazy things. And so he's explaining it to the Quraysh in a way. Wait, you just lied that, fam.
Sorry. They didn't claim that he had a mate, bro.
So what I was saying, that Allah in this verse is explaining this, explaining the cohesive term, right? The overarching idea is that Allah cannot have children. He's explaining this to the Quraysh in a way that they can understand it.
So
is he saying that he is incapable? Does he say in the Quran that he is incapable of having children, but incapable of doing anything except by his own will and except by his own actions, indivisibly ahad? No, he does not say that. Over and over in the Quran, he can do everything he wills. He does what he wills. He can do it by himself.
Except
he's explaining this. He's saying it to the Quraysh in a way that they can understand it.
So he's using a false refutation then. No worries.
It's not a false reputation.
It is, because it doesn't really
they
work.
can understand it, and it worked.
No, it doesn't, because it doesn't apply to... Look, imagine me using a false representation to your claim. It doesn't really work, but you can't refute it, so I win? But it's a false reputation. Anybody sharp enough to know that, wait, your reputation, you're not addressing my actual argument. Your reputation doesn't apply to you because you don't need
the argument was God doesn't have children, so it's saying that God doesn't have children. So then all
he has to do is just say he doesn't have children.
He does so many times.
No, but see, look, using I don't have a mate, so therefore I don't have kids. If he doesn't need a mate to even have kids in the first place, is a silly refutation because it doesn't apply to Allah.
But I'm saying that they did not understand this. And it says also that Allah is exalted above having a mate, exalted above having children.
All right, bro. All right. We could rest that here. Did you want to bring up something, or was that it?
I mean, we can talk about anything you'd like.
That's the only argument I had. Maybe on another.
I mean, I think wholeheartedly, I've done my research, and this is the conclusion I've come upon. I think that I've seen a few of your videos before. There are some things that I disagree with that you did, but I don't really have them off the top of my head. I think I made a video actually responding to one of your things before, but it's okay.
Yeah, you didn't respond to my arguments. You said that I was just doing what I wanted to.
Yeah, you should be a little bit nicer, you know?
No, he wasn't. He mocked. Why didn't you address him when he mocked, saying your God was on the cross begging and stuff? Why didn't you say something about that?
That wasn't appropriate, and I said it in the comment section as well.
You said in the comments, you didn't say it in your making your video. You only addressed us for having this, meeting him with the same energy.
I'm deficient because of that.
I like you, man. I almost said I love you. Almost. Maybe one more meeting, I will say I love you. But if you're see, that's my thing about you, man. You could be honest and say, yeah, you know what, I made a mistake. That's my bad. You're different. You're different. You're different.
I think this is the way that you're supposed to do. You know, how can you expect someone to believe in your religion when you do not have good character?
Yeah.
And I think I would pose that same question to you, because I think in a sense you seem like a decent guy, but you also do some things that make you not uphold the values that I believe that Christianity taught me and also teach you.
Like what?
Like this whole like cooking thing, like mocking people when you beat them in a debate. Like it's just not cool. It's not.
So when Jesus, do you know that when Jesus destroyed the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that he called them brood of vipers and whitewashed tombs and empty cups and snakes and dogs and swine? You know, he called them that, all that stuff, right?
Jesus did that?
Yeah.
Okay. What does that have to do with this argument? I'm saying that if someone does not disrespect you, right? Like someone just has an argument, you don't agree with them, whatever, to kick them off the live and to say like, I cooked you, get in my pot, get out my pot, I cooked you, like.
Well, no, I told him not to get out the pot.
But I'm saying in that sense, are you speaking about your own religion? Are you speaking on behalf of your religion? Are you speaking on behalf of your own debate abilities? Are you being prideful in the sense that you have very, very good debate abilities? I just cooked this guy. Because that's not a Christian teaching.
Notice I didn't say I just cooked this guy. I just cooked this guy. Notice the people that I did the stirring the pot thing to. It was to people who came up here, tried to throw off a red herring, and then ran. Didn't even bother or have the decency to stay and have the conversation and talk. But they try to throw in something.
I'm saying, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, what they did was perfect, but I'm saying that there's a way to respond to these things.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is that my response is not inappropriate. My response is not inappropriate to them, and it doesn't go against my religion.
It's okay. You can make that claim. You know, I'm just trying to provide any help. If you want to take it, you can take it. If you don't. The way I act is the way I act. The way you act is the way you act. It doesn't matter.
All right.
People are in the comments saying we're not here to spare feelings. I think the main lesson I'm just trying to get across is that if you want to be a person who brings others closer to their religion, you should exemplify that in your character. I don't think anyone, after losing a debate and hearing that, oh, you got cooked, and, you know, getting trolled, is going to feel any closer to accepting your position when you're mocking them after you prove them wrong or they leave or whatever you want to do.
If you watch me long enough,
okay, so the religion's not for them. No, so you don't want to guide these people. You don't want these people to accept you.
Don't be too quick. Don't be like them and be too quick. Let me finish what I was saying. When I say not for the person that I'm speaking to, when they expose their hard-heartedness and stubbornness, it's not for them. It's for the other 800 people who will be listening and gleaning and learning from the information and the knowledge that I give. It's not for that person who rejects it and is stubborn and hard-hearted and they themselves mock. It's not for them. It's for the other people listening with an open heart. So God will deal with that person how he deals with that person. Hey, it's not
as he will to us all.
As he will to us all. So that's my thing. I deal with each person accordingly. Like with you, notice with you how this was. Beautiful conversation, right? Nice back and forth. You know, it was. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. I had fun talking to you. I like this type of good back and forth. You're sharp. You're intelligent. You know, it's refreshing. You know, apart from the usual bit that we get. You're not a troll or nothing like that. So you get respect. I start off with respect to the person. When they come off different, I treat them accordingly.
It's okay. You know, we can take different approaches. It's all good. I actually do have another question, and I'm by no means like I don't want to get into like a huge argument about this or huge debate.
Oh man, don't start it up then, man.
Hey, okay. I just want to ask, like, when it comes to the authenticity of the Bible questions, like, how do you respond to that personally? Like, what's your personal take on that? Do you accept, like, because I know people have different opinions. Very many Christian scholars accept that it's been corrupted, but they say it's not that different. Some of them say it's been corrupted, but I still don't believe in anything else. Like, for example, like Keith Ward, he says that, yeah, I believe that, you know, that the Bible's been corrupted. I believe that, you know, Muhammad was probably a true prophet, but I just choose to believe in Christianity, and that's what he does. Or you may see logical flaws in Islam in your own interpretation, and you may just believe that Christianity is a better source of information. But how do you feel about when people say, oh, the Bible's been corrupted?
Yeah. So I don't think Keith Moore is a Christian. One.
He is. You can watch the video.
Okay, I have to check and see the source of that.
He's actually like, he's a Christian scholar at the University of Oxford. He's like one of
Christian though?
Yeah. He's one of the leading authorities on Christianity.
Leading authorities? No, he's not.
Like when it comes to like apologetics and Christian discourse, go watch the video, man. He says he's a Christian. I don't, you know what I mean?
Okay. Well, yeah.
I'll send it to you if you want.
But okay. So are you asking me, do I believe that the Bible's been preserved?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely do. I believe the Bible's definitely been preserved.
Like perfectly.
When it's perfectly in its theology and the message, yeah. When Christians say preservation, we don't believe that every single word, every single letter has to be the exact same. But there could be textual variants. The theme, the message, and the theology is the same. That's what preservation is for us.
But so how can you make the distinction of you're saying like some things are changing, but the theology is intact? If you're admitting some things are changing, I'm admitting
that there are textual variants. Like you're going to have copyist errors. You're going to have manuscripts that survive better than others. You're going to have fragmentary manuscripts versus whole copy manuscripts. You know, so you're going to have this type of stuff.
So you believe that the Bible has zero contradictions?
Yeah, I don't believe it has contradictions. I don't believe, I believe it's perfect in its theology. I believe it's perfectly inconsistent in its message and in its theology, bro. I don't think that the Bible, I don't think that what we have is something different than what the apostles were writing and teaching, or the prophets before Jesus was writing and teaching.
Is there any way to like empirically prove that?
Well, you can look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls that deals with the Old Testament. The Dead Sea Scrolls are Old Testament scrolls, pretty much everyone, I think, except for Esther, if I'm not mistaken. And specifically the scroll of Isaiah is good. It's about 97, I think they say, percent accurate to what we have textually. So as far as so when they say that, they're talking about variants. And so what we have.
I'm just curious. I've heard people talk about it before, but in relation to Moses, let's say, what is the difference in time between the Dead Sea Scrolls and Moses?
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a very long time. But
how do you know that what Moses revealed is the Dead Sea Scrolls? How do you know that the stone tablets revealed on Mount Sinai are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Because what we have is we have the scrolls, we have the copies of the scrolls, and we have the tradition of the Jews, of the apostles, that point back to, what Moses revealed, what was revealed to Moses, the Torah, and it matches what we have. So,
what do you mean by the culture? I mean, I think it's very well established, even in the Bible, that the Jews disobeyed Moses like countless times. Like they were not the greatest of followers in that sense.
Yeah, that's true. You do have.
And so if they started worshiping a cow and then we worship cow in the Bible, you wouldn't have known, and they would have known which they did. But
notice this though. They put that they're supposed to pride themselves on monotheism and how they are the chosen ones of God, right?
But they don't. That's the issue. Is the Bible even addresses that they don't?
That's my point. That's my point. The Jews would not want to embarrass themselves and show that how fickle they were and how idolatrous they were, right? But the fact that the embarrassing narratives are still there shows that they were consistent in their tradition. They were consistent, even showing their embarrassing idolatry. the times that they left God and disobeyed his law. They still have that narrative in there showing that they didn't change it. They could have. They could have. Oh. You have an echo, Black Doctor.
So, like, when it comes to, I understand kind of what you're saying there, but I mean, if we're speaking about, wedging or relaying your faith based on something, and you know that the source you have has a long time between the actual prophet it was revealed to, and you have no idea what could have happened in that time, using an emotional argument like, oh, they wouldn't have done this because it would have contradicted this, it's just as if That's not an emotional argument, bro. But I could also say that why would Muhammad, peace be upon him, limit his own powers within the Quran? Right. Revelation from God. But you wouldn't accept that the Quran is the word of God.
You didn't understand what I said. So you brought an argument of, them, like, wouldn't they put that, that they wrote
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you said about them adding them,
I said that they were a disobedient people. And so I cannot trust them to perfectly preserve a text.
Right. And so notice how it wasn't a emotional argument that I gave. That yes, they were a disobedient people, and they even record their disobedience. They still copied and held to the tradition of their disobedience. They could have left it out.
But I'm saying that doesn't empirically prove authenticity in any historical sense.
It empirically shows that not only does it match oral tradition, but textually, there's nothing that goes against. There's nothing empirically that goes against what we have.
What oral tradition?
The oral tradition of the Jews, the oral tradition of the Messiah, the oral tradition of the apostles, and the church fathers.
Do you have a chain of narration for your oral tradition? Or does it
we have a chain of authorship. That's what you mean. We have a chain of authorship.
Can I add to this here, or am I still getting an echo here? Just wanted to make sure. Cool. Let me drop back and then pop back in.
All right.
So, like for example, I could use the same argument to say that many people claim that the Quran was just fabricated by Muhammad, peace be upon him, which obviously I don't believe. But many people say that but in the Quran, in many places, it limits the powers of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It tells them that he can't do certain things. So I could say the same argument. Why would Muhammad fabricate something and then say that and limit his own power within the book when he could have just said, oh, give me all the spoils of war? For example, it says that it's unlawful for the Prophet to take all the spoils of war. He could have written, if he fabricated it, the Prophet gets all the spoils of war, but he didn't. And so to use this argument of, oh, he could have done this, but he didn't, so now it's a proof of authenticity is not reliable, because I can use the same thing.
No, again, you're missing the argument. You brought an argument saying that the Israelites were bad people, basically. They did not obey God correctly. They disobeyed him time and time again. So therefore, they can't be trusted with the scriptures and preserving the scriptures, right? Yeah. However, I'm giving you the counter argument.
I understand your counter argument. I'm saying it's a counter argument. It works, but I'm saying it's not strong.
Well, I'm only addressing the particular argument that you gave. So I think it's strong in relation to the objection you gave. It's strong against it. It completely refutes it. That yes, they were disobedient. Yes, they were wrong. Yes, they were continuously evil. However, they were faithful to record their disobedience and their evil and God calling them out and them betraying the prophets. They were faithful to these. They were faithful to the tradition, which takes away this, oh, they're dishonest and they're bad. So how can we trust that they didn't distort their scriptures when we have the text that records their evil, right? If they wanted to change that, they would change and make them, they will put themselves in a light that's heroic, that's faithful, that's, consistent when they don't. Not only that, but Jesus points back to the Torah that we have. The apostles point back to the Torahs that we have. Daniel, the prophet, points back to the Torah and the writings of Jeremiah that we have. We have all of these prophets, all of these witnesses that point to what we have. So that's not my only argument I was using. There's a ton more.
Yes, I mean, of course they had whatever version of the Torah they had at their time. Of course they're going in their authorship to point back to it. Just to say that because it has certain content that it's impossible for them to basically snitch on themselves, that they wouldn't have snitched on themselves, is not a very strong argument.
So this was Ray. This is what I would say.
If you asked me to
you would have to bring proof that it's distorted. Like, because if you would have to bring me a Torah that's different, right? That's different and changed from the one that I have. That's what you would have to do. It doesn't exist.
So like when people bring up like there's contradictions within the Torah, when it comes to like, you probably heard like the Isaiah verse so many times. Where it's
we
like,
responded to that so many times.
So I've never heard the response to it actually. Like, why is there so many people in here? What the heck?
No, these are my boys. These are my guys.
Okay.
You'll like them. Trust me. They're cool.
What's your response to that?
So if you want, go on my channel. You can look at it.
I can't watch that right now.
Yeah, you why not?
Because then it's gonna make me leave the live.
No, I'm saying in your own time. You don't gotta do it right now.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying I can't address it right now.
But yeah, it's a textual variant there. In the Masoretic text, it puts 42, but in all the other scrolls and all the other manuscripts, it has 22 in both. Yeah. So we can see that it's a textual variant, and it's an understandable one because the numbers look very, very similar. But we can see that where the textual variant happened. So the answer is 22. The Masoretic text is that textual variance is incorrect.
Okay. So yeah, I think I understand your counterpoint in which you're saying basically that the Jews wouldn't have snitched on themselves.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's very strong because I brought up in the point of the Quran that Muhammad would, peace be upon him, would have made himself more powerful.
Well, he did. He did in a lot of ways.
But he didn't.
No,
he said that, for example, it says that it is unlawful for prophets to take the spoils of war.
Except that he's able to take the spoils of war. Not all of it, but he gets a huge percentage.
To distribute where? Muhammad by no means was the Prophet ﷺ a very rich man. He gave almost everything he had in charity.
Didn't his wives have their own house?
I can't speak on that. I don't know.
Well, they did. Each of his wives had their own house. And he had about, let's just be generous and say 9. Sometimes I hear 11, but I'm not exactly sure. Let's say 9. That's a common number I see. Let's say he had 9 wives, had a house for each one of them. They had their own house.
You know what these houses look like? They have like kind of like remakes of what these houses look like. Do you know what they look like? They're actually dirt huts. Like they're not very expensive houses.
Come on, man.
It is historically and within our tradition preserved that the Prophet, peace be upon him, gave almost everything he had in charity. To the point that when he would have to pray the night prayer, he would have to move the feet of his wife in order to make prostration correctly.
Yeah, see, there's the discrepancy. I think that when you have Muhammad, who has a house for each individual wife.
I just told you the houses were shacks, man. I can go outside the fort and build a fort right now. It don't cost no money.
No, that's fine. But, you have where Muhammad is able to receive a percentage of the spoil. He says that you give a spoil to Allah, whatever that means.
Yeah, that means charity, fam. Giving a spoil to Allah means charity. It means zakat and sadaqah.
I think it means giving it to the Prophet.
Okay, so did the Prophet, peace, can you provide me any source in which the Prophet ﷺ was living a life of extravagance?
Well, we can have a topic on that. We can have a topic, and I'll get some sources, and I'll show you how Muhammad wasn't broke. I'll show you that.
Okay, I'm not saying broke, but I'm saying he wasn't a very wealthy man in the sense that he did not live like King Solomon or a king. He did not live like a king.
Well, I think that I can make the argument that Muhammad was wealthy. I think I can make that argument. I'm willing to have that conversation with you. I'll have to get my sources, get it all together.
But can you refute the fact that he gave exorbitant amounts of charity?
We'll discuss that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with those sources personally.
Okay.
Right. But
I'll just leave it for the people.
Benefits, like Muhammad gets benefits in the Quran. He gets benefits that no one else gets.
I mean, as a prophet, there is a certain authority that you have over your followers. But when it comes to, for example, the spoils of war, he did not keep money for himself. In most cases, he donated almost everything to charity.
But Rain, do prophets, okay, like for example, did the prophets that came after Moses follow a different law than the law of Moses?
What did you say?
The prophets that came after Moses, were they not bound to the law of Moses? Not bound to the Torah?
I believe you could, I'm just going to say yes for the sake of the argument, yeah.
Anyway, so yes, they were. They didn't have their own law that or some things that didn't apply to them. They were bound to the same law that was revealed to all the Israelites, even though they were prophets. They got no exceptions, no benefits. We see Muhammad here. You're saying that, well, as a prophet, you get certain, you have a certain authority over the people. No, if God is revealing a law, it's for all believers, all the people that's there, and the prophet included. Moses was bound to the Torah. If he disobeyed anything in the Torah, he would have got stoned. So for Muhammad, he's revealing that Allah is giving certain laws, but Muhammad has an exception in some of these laws. He gets certain benefits. I think that is a telltale sign of,
So you think that, like, Muhammad, peace be upon him, fabricated it and he wrote it himself out of his own knowledge?
I wouldn't say necessarily that he himself wrote it. I would say that, he dictated it and, he had scribes, had people write stuff for him.
But it was from his own mind, basically.
I would say that it's from his own mind and or a demonic influence.
Oh, really? You make that claim?
Yeah, definitely.
You actually think that Islam is demonic?
Yeah.
Like, I'm being dead serious. This is actually crazy to me.
I'm dead serious, man. When you talk about.
I've felt the closest to God I've ever felt in the past 2 years. I don't feel very demonic.
I don't think. See, and that's because I don't think you know God. You don't know God.
Okay.
That would be my conclusion. You don't know God, and you can feel like a Mormon would say the same thing, bro. A Mormon says the same thing about the Book of Mormon and about Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ. Mormons, they have the Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith is their prophet, and they say, when I read the Book of Mormon, I feel closer to God than ever. I feel it in my spirit. I feel the Holy Spirit burning within me.
But this is not equivalent. We're talking about the devil. The devil would entice people to worship him. That's what he wanted.
Absolutely. The devil will entice people to worship him or anything other than God. And so when you have, for example, this is how the Bible describes Satan. He had a superiority complex, and he wanted to be like God. He wanted the glory, he wanted the adoration, he wanted to be like them, he wanted to be worshipped.
Okay, Satan wanted to be worshipped and have glory.
Just hold on a second.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense to me that Satan would disguise himself as the one true God, fabricate a caricature of himself, a fake enemy to have people fear and be aware of, to throw them off the trail that he himself is the wolf in sheep's clothing. He's the false God portraying to be the true God to be worshipped. It makes perfect sense to me.
Interesting conclusion. It just doesn't make sense to me that you're saying that Satan is prideful, right? And that Satan wants to be glorified. So why would he use his own name and say that he is the worst of creatures? He is the opposite of glorified. He's disgusting.
Well, he doesn't.
The worst thing ever.
He doesn't. Iblis is not Satan, bro. That's not his name. Who's Iblis?
Iblis is a shayateen.
No, Iblis is
He's the leader of the shaitan. He is the leader of the shayateen.
Yeah, that's who you're talking about, Iblis. Iblis is not Satan, bro. Iblis is not the Satan that the prophets warn about, the enemy and the adversary. That's not his name. His name is not Iblis. That's not who he is. And so to create this caricature,
what's his name then?
It's Satan, the adversary.
Yeah, so Iblis and shaitan are used one and the same.
But no, you have Iblis. That is the name of that shaitan.
Brother, Iblis is shaitan.
Are all shaitans Iblis?
That's what I'm saying. There's multiple devils, many devils, but the main devil that's called out is Iblis.
I know. That's my point. That's my point.
But he is called shaitan.
I got you. So you have Iblis is the specific shaitan that is caricatured. That's not who he is. His name is not Iblis. That's not who he is. This is a false character.
What's your name?
It's a distraction.
What's your name?
Avery.
Avery. If I called you Shubuhat, would you listen? Would you respond to me?
I sure would, boy. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. That shaitan that is being references Iblis. Shayateen references his followers, the lesser demons. Shayateen. Shaitan and Iblis are one and the same. It's like me calling you GodLogic, me calling you Avery, me calling you Shubuhat. They're all the three same names. They mean the same thing. They represent the same person. That's what I'm telling you.
That's not true at all.
Iblis.
That's not true at all. You have times where a shaitan is mentioned. A shaitan, right? But it's not necessarily Iblis. It's not Iblis, because Iblis is the specific shaitan who rebelled against God and, misled humanity, right, into eating the fruit and yada, yada, yada. That's Iblis. The name of that shaitan is Iblis, a specific character. That is not his name in the Bible. That's not who he truly is. That's my point. And it's a misrepresentation of him too, by the way. He's not.
Why would the Quran curse him?
It's a false character. You're not getting it.
And curses shaitan, curses shaitan. If I say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I seek refuge from Satan, the accursed.
Yes. It's like a misdirection. Let me give you examples of why.
But you just said,
let me ask you
that Satan wants to be worshipped. He wouldn't want to be distant.
So if Satan disguises himself as Allah to be worshipped, the one true God, he's getting what he wants. While he made up this fake character named Iblis and has you curse this non-existent fake character that you think is real.
But we know what we're cursing. We're cursing.
No, you don't. That's my point. Like, for example, who wants us to sin, Rain? Who wants us to sin?
Huh?
Who wants us to sin?
Who wants us to sin? I don't know.
Who wants us to sin?
Answer the question. I don't want your leads.
Who misleads people? He's asking you, who misleads people?
Who misleads us?
What is the job of a shaitan? There we go, yalla.
What is the job of a shaitan?
What does the shaitan do?
The shaitan tempts people.
He tempts people to where?
He tempts
to do
people.
what?
The misguidance, to sin.
Exactly.
No.
There we go. Boom.
So the shaitan is the one who misleads us, tempts us into sin, right?
Is this the same Satan from the Bible? What you believe that the
well,
devil?
I agree with you that these characteristics fit Satan. Those are the characteristics.
The Satan of the Bible, one who entices and tempts towards sin.
Yep, tempts you towards sin, wants you to sin, and misleads you.
Okay.
These are actual descriptions, qualities that fit Allah. Allah misleads you, and Allah wants you to sin.
What?
Right, yeah. According to Surah Maryam 83, matter of fact,
hold on.
Just one question, please.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to GodLogic, my friend.
It's okay, why not? I mean, we're brothers. I mean, over here, he's my brother.
There's 5 of you. This is gonna go absolutely
go ahead.
crazy.
That's fine.
I promise you,
if we're going to ignore every time in the Quran, Allah says, "In alladina amanu wa aminu salihati." Indeed, those who believe and do good. So where in this sense are you going to extrapolate probably over 100 times Allah says this in the Quran, and then you're going to say that Allah is encouraging you to sin? It makes no sense.
I'll tell you why. Because when it says those who do good and those who believe, you don't do good or believe unless Allah wills for you to do good and believe. That's what he says. You can't do good or believe unless Allah wills for you to do good and believe. So for the ones who do bad and disbelieve, it's because Allah willed. He wanted them to do bad and disbelieve.
Oh, this is actually such a great point. Wait, so before when we were talking about your etiquette or whatever, you were like, it's not for them, like their hearts are too hard to the message. This is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, that whether we would have appeared to them in physical sense, they would have called it magic. That no matter what you do to these people who are sinning and rebellious, that their hearts are black to it. And so they will not believe whether they are guided or they're misguided. And
that's
so
not the verse.
The same argument that you made before, that even if I were to be kind to these people, their hearts are too hard to the message, they'll never get the message. This is the same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran.
No, it's not. He doesn't know. He says that no one can believe except by the permission of Allah. You can't believe except by the permission of Allah.
Allah is the source of everything. You cannot breathe without the permission of Allah.
Well, guess what? So the reason why people don't believe is because Allah didn't want them to believe. He didn't give them permission to.
Wait, I have a question. Do you not believe that God created Satan in the first place?
Yeah, but he doesn't force evil. He doesn't force me to believe or force me to disbelieve.
There's no forcing.
We
have free will.
Let me ask you this. It says that Allah, I cannot believe unless Allah wills for me to believe. Okay? So if I wanted to believe, and let's say Allah didn't will for me to believe, can I still believe anyway?
I think you're misrepresenting exactly what that means.
I'm only quoting the verse verbatim.
We have free will.
No, you don't.
If you choose to believe in God and worship Him alone, Allah is the most just, the most merciful, and He will bless you with belief.
My brother.
That's where the sense of justice comes in, that Allah is the most just. So if you, in your heart, hope to believe, you seek after God, you will believe.
And it says that you can't have that in your heart unless Allah wills for you to have that in your heart.
And He will place it in the heart of those who are sincere to Him.
No, it doesn't say that. It says
exactly what it says in the other places in the Quran. Allah places belief into the hearts of those.
You cut out.
Yeah, that Allah places belief into hearts, or Allah places disbelief into hearts, depending on
His will.
His will. And basically the type of person that...
No, it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the type of person. As a matter of fact, you literally have a hadith that talks about the type of person that's doing good. He's doing so good that he's 1 cubit away from paradise. That's how close he is. He's so close to paradise. He's doing the good deeds. He's so close to paradise. And then it says that, but what Allah wrote for him overcomes him. And he begins to do the deeds of those belonging to hell. And then he goes to hell. So it doesn't matter what kind of person you are. What matters is what Allah decreed and willed for you.
I'll have to read this hadith myself and we can talk about it. But I'm just saying that the overall thesis, right, was that God would only command good. And so if most of the laws of the Quran are very cohesive with the laws of the Torah, as in the 10 Commandments, as in...
No, it goes against the 10 Commandments.
Wait, don't steal, don't murder, don't worship other than God, honor thy neighbor, honor thy father.
All of that.
Do not use the Lord's name in vain.
My brother, you're literally, Muhammad says, he says this. He says... I just
dropped 7 commandments that are
I know. And I'm going to show you how. Look, you said... God commands only good. I'm about to show you.
I didn't say that.
What?
I said that God commands the same laws that were in the Old Testament.
You said that God commands
in many cases, not exactly.
Stop, please. Rain, relax. Before you even mentioned the 10 Commandments, you literally said that God only commands what is good. You literally said that. Word for word.
I promise. If I said that, I misspoke. Because that's not what I said.
So does God also command evil?
I was just going to say that.
Does God also command evil? Does Allah also command evil?
Within the Quran, He only commands, within the commands and prohibitions, to enjoin good and to forbid evil.
I didn't understand that. Does He command evil or not?
Does He command humans to do evil? No.
Okay. So if you have, and I would agree with you, that God does not command evil. He doesn't command evil.
Yes, He does not command. I was confused about what you were saying before because I think someone spoke and it cut out. Yes, I'm saying that God does not only commands good, basically.
He only commands good. Yes. Now, this is my problem: is that Allah commands evil. He literally has. Look, I'm gonna show you the hadith, man. He commands adultery.
What?
Let me show you this. It's not just in the Quran that He commands adultery. In the Hadith, He commands adultery is pretty clear, and you can't escape it.
Zina.
And He says,
zina.
No, He says you must commit it actually out of necessity in which you must commit.
Yeah.
That's I actually have it. Hold on.
What does out of necessity mean? What?
So it's in Sahih Muslim 2657.
It's crazy that Rain, right when I started speaking, Rain was like, no. But then, I mean, it's okay. But
Bro,
anyways,
because
go
I'm
ahead,
not trying to get in an argument with 5 people at the same time. What's the problem?
It's okay. We can keep it simple, guys. It's all good. He's one
Like what?
up here. He's braver than the others who don't join. He joined, so let's be courteous to him. So look, Sahih Muslim 2657b, bro. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's apostle as saying, "Verily, Allah has fixed the very portion of adultery which a man will indulge in, and which he of necessity must commit." Even if he didn't want to do it, he's going to do it because Allah's making him do it. The adultery of the eye is the lustful look. The adultery of the tongue is the licentious speech. The heart desires and yearns, which the parts may or may not put into effect. So who's the one that makes men commit adultery?
What? This is not committing adultery. Adultery of the eyes is talking about, it's saying the lustful look and the tongue. Basically,
Is that a sin? Is that a sin to look lustfully?
No, that's not what Allah, it's not saying that Allah is making you do these things. It's that our nature as human beings is to be a sinner. Every son of Adam is a sinner.
What does it mean that
So
Allah
God has made our natures. This hadith means that God has made the nature of human to sin.
So God has made the nature of human to sin. That's beautiful. So when it says
The nature of human allows sin to take place. We are not.
No. It says that Allah has fixed the portion of adultery which a man will indulge in,
Right.
and by which of necessity he must commit. He can't. Matter of fact, there's an even better one. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me give you a clear one.
Go to Sahih Muslim 2658 because that includes the
Here it
grid.
is, right here. Look. Same thing. Allah has fixed the very portion of adultery which a man will indulge in, not may, will indulge in. There would be no escape from it. So even if the man didn't want to commit the adultery, too bad. Allah has fixed it. And
Talking about the nature of human being, bro. Like, I'm serious. This is a very, very disingenuous translation you're doing, or explanation you're giving.
We're just
explanation you're giving.
I'm only reading what it says.
Yeah, I'm telling you what it means.
You telling me what it
I
means?
think it's. I'm telling you what it means.
So
that the nature of human, the nature of man, in specific, is to have lust in their heart. That men naturally are attracted to the opposite gender. That it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or I'm not sure if this is a hadith or it's in the Quran, but every son of Adam is a sinner. Every son of Adam is capable of sin. Every son of Adam is fallible.
Where does it say that them committing adultery is based on their nature? Is it based on their nature, or is it based on Allah's will? What he fixed for them? Which one is it based on, bro?
God's will was to create humans as fallible creations, not infallible
But
creations.
specifically to commit adultery, right? Specifically these men.
Right, that's a very specific thing.
It's not adultery in the sense of fornication. It's adultery in the sense of not lowering your gaze. Can you read the entire hadith? Why are you zooming in on one word?
I just, because you said it's not adultery.
It's not adultery in the sense of adultery within the Bible, as in fornicating with your wife.
Well, let's look at it because this is what it says very specifically. Because it's not just the lustful look and the voluptuous song. It's adultery of the tongue is licentious speech. Adultery of the hand is the lustful grip, embrace. And the adultery of the feet is to walk to the place where you're going to commit adultery. So it's all of the above.
Yes, I'm telling you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that it is within the human nature to commit sin. Why is that? Because God created us as fallible creations.
But it's not talking about man's will. It's talking about Allah's will for you to commit adultery.
Allah's will was to create us with free will.
Right. And so you can't, this can't be any more explicit. It says there is no escape from it. He has fixed the very portion of adultery which a man will indulge in. This is so explicit, you can't get more explicit than this. No escape from it.
This is the problem. Oh, hold up. don't leave the live. I said, this is the problem with interpreting these texts extremely literally without the insight from the rest of the Quran and the Hadith, that you choose one Hadith and then try to explain it in a sense where you're trying to like very clearly make it look bad. Yes,
the Quran
within a human being, the Quran never commands that. Like, you're saying that Allah is commanding people to do evil. This is not.
Allah is the one who fixes your good or your bad. That the Quran says
God is the one who created Satan. God is the one who created humans with the capability to sin. Does that mean God is not God?
That means that
you agree with that, don't you? That God created Satan and God created humans with the ability to sin.
We don't believe that God created sin. We don't believe that. What your Quran and Hadith teach is that the men who sin are doing it at the will of Allah. Allah willed for them to sin, and He fixed for them to sin. Not that we have a nature that we yearn to sin, and so we're just helpless. We're gonna sin. No, specifically, Allah wills for certain people to believe or to walk the straight path, and He wills for others not to. It's not based on what man wants or their free will. It's all destined.
The thesis of the argument was that the Quran tells people to do things which are good and to not do things which are bad. Which is a choice, by the way. I have a choice right now whether to curse on this live or to use kind speech.
Brother.
And so that's the choice I have, and that is the thesis of the argument. God does not command us.
Let me say this because you're missing it, dude.
God is not saying.
Look, Rain. I'm aware that you have verses, like for example, you have a verse like chapter 76, verse 29 to 31. You have a verse. You have a chapter like that. It says, "Verily, there is an admonition. So whoever wills, let him take a path to his Lord." Sounds like free will, right? Whoever wants to do it, whoever wants to walk the straight path, let him do it. Free will, right? It then continues. But you cannot will unless Allah wills.
Yeah, I have no problem with this.
So you cannot, even your desire to walk the straight path comes from what Allah has willed. It's not yours.
Do you have a problem with that? Do you think that anything occurs without God's will?
I believe that there is free will and that God is not the cause of my free will.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? He doesn't cause what I choose or do.
So God didn't create you to have free will and know exactly what you were going to do.
Yeah, Him knowing what I'm going to do is not Him causing me to do what I do.
Okay, he's
so
confusing
how can you do anything
active
of your
will.
Own strength?
Rain, you're confusing God's active will and His passive will. So God's active will,
a passive will is still a will. He is willing for you to do these things.
Hold on, listen to what I'm saying.
If you're letting something happen, you're still okay with it happening.
No, Rain, listen to me. What Avery is saying is, in Islam, there's only the active will. There is no passive will. Passive will would be our free will. So we have the decision on whether or not we choose to follow God or if we don't. But God does have an active will. Like, for instance, He willed to create the world. He willed to create you and me. But His active will is not going to encroach on our passive will, which is we have the right to choose Him. But what He's saying here in this hadith, which I'm not understanding why you're not understanding, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but I'm just listening. For instance, you talked about a particular will of Allah, like for instance, Allah is not willing me to curse on this stage. I can choose to curse or I can choose to use kind speech. But how many sins does it take in order for it to be an active thing? One, in this hadith, Allah is actively causing you to commit adultery. That's enough. That's enough for it to be a bad thing. He says He has fixed it for you. So
fixing the very portion of adultery refers to the nafs.
No, it doesn't refer to yourself, bro. Because He said it's Allah's nafs. It's Allah's nafs, bro. It refers to Himself. He has fixed it, not you. As you said it refers to His nafs, His self, or no, you're saying it refers to our nafs.
The capability of sin,
right? Allah, right. So it refers to Allah's
we believe
nafs.
that nothing. Yeah, okay, I understand. I don't think you may try to dodge around that in the Christian theology. But nothing happens without
I'm gonna
God's
just mute
will.
up. I'm gonna give it back to you, Avery, because I don't really think he's getting that.
I think he gets it. He just, he's standing on.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to separate active will and passive will, it's still God's will. God is still willing for this to happen.
No,
nothing
it's
happens without God's will.
Bro, it's God's will to give you free choice. What we're saying is, in Islam, Allah doesn't will that
God
for you.
God gave you this choice knowing that you're going to sin, and so God is then allowing you and causing
because
you to
God
sin.
is not going to force himself on you.
So he created a human being knowing that it was going to sin, let it sin.
Yes, bro.
All by random occurrence. It's as if you're thinking that God got surprised here.
Wait, hold on. Rain, I have a daughter, okay? When my wife got pregnant and we had our daughter, do you not think that we knew that she would one day do something to disappoint us?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's the same thing with God, bro. Like, God created human beings.
You're not.
Hold on, bro. Just listen to the argument, man. God created us knowing that we would one day, some people would choose him, some people would not. But that goes into his passive will. He allows us to make the decision, because how can you say you love somebody if you force yourself on them? What we're saying is, in Islam, you don't have that, bro. It's just his active.
Yeah,
He's forcing you to commit adultery. He's fixed the very portion of it. That's what it says.
Yeah, I think I've thoroughly explained why that's not true, but it's okay. We can just disagree on this.
All right, man.
Can I ask him a question, or is Logic done with him? I don't know.
Okay.
You still with this, Logic?
There's one more hadith I wanted to show him, and then I'll be done.
Okay, brother, go ahead.
What's that hadith, guys, about Allah's will overcoming the person? He's doing a good
70. I think it's 76, 29 all the way to 31. Chapter 76, 29 to 31, whatever Allah wills. Is that the one?
No, it's in the hadith.
Oh, it's in the hadith.
It's in both. It's in both, but...
Right.
So, I think this is the one. Yeah. Alright, so this is Sahih Muslim 2643a, right? This is Abdullah bin Masud reported that Allah's messenger, who's the most truthful and his being truthful, said, "Verily your creation is on this wise. The constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. Then it becomes a lump of flesh, and 40 days later, Allah sends his angel to it with instructions concerning 4 things. So the angel writes down his livelihood, his death, his deeds, his fortune, and misfortune. By him, besides him, there is no God. That one amongst you acts like the people deserving paradise." So they're doing good, right? "Until between him and paradise, there remains but a distance of a cubit." So he's doing good. He's doing good things. He's doing the good things deserving of paradise. Then it continues, it says, "When suddenly the writing of destiny overcomes him, and he begins to act like the denizens of hell, and thus enters hell. And another one acts in the way of the denizens of hell until there remains but a cubit," yada yada, same thing. There's just a cubit, that the writing of destiny overcomes him, and then he begins to act like the people of paradise and enters paradise. So for this person who's freely choosing to do good deeds to enter paradise, what causes him to stop doing good deeds that will get him to paradise? What stops him here?
Destiny.
Right. So the writing of destiny overcomes him, right? Which then makes him to begin to do the bad deeds and enter hellfire. How is that free will?
It's in the sense that God knows the unseen. So like, let's say for right now, right? I can stand up and dance around. That's my free will, in a sense. But who is really the creator of all action, all inaction? It's God. And I believe this is true for any faith. And so because God knows the unseen and God knows exactly what's going to happen, obviously to enact this action in the first place is to having known and be a causation of this action. Just like I said, God creating a human in the first place with the capability of sin is to allow sin. God created us fallible. He could have created only angels and there'd be no sin in the world.
What does it mean
Angels
that the
and
writing
God-
of destiny overcomes?
Can I finish?
You're not.
If God willed, he could have created only God. There could have been only God, and he could only have created angels, and there would have been no sin in the world. But he chose to create human and introduce sin in the world. Knowing that human would sin, he created human who introduced sin in the world and put within their capability, within their internal innate nature to sin. That means that God created these people knowing they would sin, and so God is the originator of that sin. Because if God only chose to create angels, then he would have not have chosen, he would have not have had any sin in the world, but he chose to create people.
So thank you. Allah is the originator of sin. And let me tell you, the Bible says the same thing about Satan. That Satan is the father of lies, the father of sin. He's the originator of evil and deceit.
But God says, don't do evil, don't sin, don't lie.
And that's what drove us here. Showing you that why I think that Islam is satanic. Because you have to be, if you're going to be consistent with your being.
That's a false conclusion, though.
Well, it's not. I'm only repeating what you said. You said that
yes,
Allah,
a satanic religion. So in the Bible, it says that
I let you talk. I didn't interrupt you. I let you talk. You said that Allah is the originator of sin. That is literally the characteristic of Satan described in the Bible. That's why
that God created Satan, so God created sin.
Oh, no. See, Satan is not synonymous with sin. It's not synonymous.
He created humans and Satan with the disposition to be able to sin, therefore creating and introducing sin in the world. You can't run away from that.
He didn't create sin. He didn't introduce sin.
He created humans who sin.
Satan introduced sin.
So he created Satan.
And the humans chose sin instead of choosing God. He didn't create.
He created humans knowing that they would choose sin because he knew what the humans would do. So he created the humans knowing they would sin, then let them sin. That's creating sin.
Respectfully. Him creating humans with free will to be able to sin is not him being the originator of sin itself.
I believe it absolutely is.
Free will and sin are not
just using different words to classify the same exact idea.
They're not the same thing, Rain.
This is so disingenuous. What?
Okay, so if you're saying it's disingenuous. Okay, fine. Rain, can you tell me, because you didn't answer this question here. When the writing of destiny overcomes him, is this by his free will that he begins to act like people of hell? Or is this by Allah's will that overcomes him?
It is within his own actions, and God knows the unseen and writes out actions.
Does it say Allah knows what will happen, or does it say Allah wrote it and it overcomes him? What does it mean to overcome?
You're just trying to make a false comparison. You know that, okay, if God was to not create humans, there would be no sin in the world.
Overcome, please.
Huh?
What does it mean to overcome?
It means that God knows the unseen.
No. What does it mean to overcome? When you overcome something, what does that mean?
Yeah, if you're going to use English words literally to understand a figurative idea that God, basically the idea of qadr. This is the idea of qadr in this hadith. And I have no problem with this.
So what does the word overcome mean?
Yeah, that this person was doing good, and destiny had it written, Allah had it written, that he would be those of the disbelievers, he would be those who would enter hellfire. And so he entered hellfire. Boom. He created this human.
So was that his choice?
Huh? Was
that his choice or was that Allah's choice?
I mean, we can make the argument that free will doesn't even exist in the first place if you're going to say that.
Well, that's the entire point of our argument.
I'm saying in Christianity either.
In Islam, free will doesn't exist.
I'm saying
Allah writes for certain people to go to hell, and they're not going to hell because it's their fault. It's because Allah willed for them to go to hell. It's unjust and satanic, man. That's the point.
Brother, I'm saying the same thing for Christianity.
In Christianity, you will never find a verse that says that God's will overcomes them and makes them start doing bad deeds.
But
you
nothing
never
happens
see a verse
without
that
God's
says
will.
that God is the one that puts sin in people's hearts. Never.
Avery, if God never created humans or Satan, would sin ever enter the world?
If he never created, yeah, possibly one of the angels could have disobeyed God.
Okay, don't use the word possibly. You know the answer to that.
No, the answer is I don't know. It's possible. So one of the other angels could have rebelled against God.
Wait, angels can commit sin?
Yes.
I mean, Lucifer was an angel.
That's in your opinion. We believe he was a jinn, but it's okay.
I mean, but hold on, wait. But is a jinn a human? Wasn't that your question?
A jinn is not a
No,
human.
just
stick to your. I'm going to argue with Avery now. Jumping in is not going to help anyone.
So, all right.
Yeah,
well,
so God, if God willed, he could have never. If God willed, he could have never created any creation that was capable of sin. He could have kept the world without sin, but he willed for sin to enter the world.
You're right. So that
you just admitted that God originated sin.
No, I
literally just admitted that God could have made a world with no sin.
Rain, don't misrepresent me.
I'm not.
So good. What I'm saying is God originates.
This is so sad. I thought you were nice.
Rain, I might not be nice. I might not be nice.
You just admitted that if God had willed for no creature to ever commit sin, he could have done that.
Yeah, he could have created. He could have created creatures with no free will. So without free will, there is no ability.
A creature with free will,
you gotta let me finish, bro.
Sin into the world.
Rain, you gotta let me finish, bro. You gotta let me finish, man. You know, you gotta let me finish, dog.
Wow.
So understand my position. Notice how I'm not misrepresenting you, but you're misrepresenting.
I get your position. You're just hiding behind semantics.
Okay, hiding behind semantics. You can call it whatever you want, man.
Yeah, God created
my position
with
is
free will.
Rain, specifically, you keep interrupting me, bro.
They would sin.
Rain,
and then let them
you
sin.
keep interrupting me, Rain. Come on now.
Okay.
Thank you. So represent my position correctly. I have not misrepresented you this entire time. I've only said what you said. I've even still manned your position. So I need you to do the same for me. I did not say that God originates sin. And I specifically said earlier that free will is not synonymous with sin. Having the free will to choose sin is not sin within itself. So when human beings or agents with free will, like angels, choose to rebel against God, they sin. They bring forth sin into the world, not God.
But God
That's my point.
Did God
Here
know
it
that
is.
this
Let me
person was
finish,
going to sin
please.
before they sinned?
Let me finish. Here you have Allah, according to you, is the originator of sin. Not just that, but there is no free will to even commit sin. Allah's the one who makes you commit the sin. Allah's the one who makes you commit the sin.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a warning so you don't say I'm running or whatever. I have a class in the next few minutes.
I would never dare say that you're running.
Okay.
You stayed this entire time.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those
I'm
people.
just saying that you said that if God had willed, he could have created a world with no sin. But he created free will. And being all-knowing, which God is, God said that I'm going to create free will, but I know that by creating this free will, sin will be introduced into the world. But he still did it. So that's why I'm saying you're hiding by semantics to deny the fact that God actually did
who introduces sin
by
to the world?
introducing free will into the world, knowing that free will would result in sin.
Who introduces sin into the world?
God.
See, that's your theology.
By creating free will. Your argument.
For us, it's not God who introduces sin.
Yeah, I'm saying you're hiding behind semantics. Like, you don't want to admit it.
No, it's not semantics. It's literally what words mean, bro. Words have meaning. Free will does not equal sin. Free will now with free will you have potential to sin.
Knowing that free will result in sin equals sin. If I'm going
That's not true at all. What are you talking about?
Okay, give me
this person is of his free will performing the deeds that are deserving of paradise. Is that sin?
Can I use an example?
Wait, can you answer this?
If I throw a rock at you,
you're not even going to answer.
You get hurt.
You're not able to answer any kind of.
I just told you it's God. Yes. God causes everything.
No, that's not what I asked.
That exists in Christianity as well.
That's not what I asked. I asked this
person
who's doing the good deeds of paradise. Is he sinning when he's freely choosing to do the deeds of paradise? Is he sinning?
No.
Is he doing the deeds of paradise of his free will?
That's why I'm trying to explain to you that
it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no. Is he doing the deeds of paradise of his free will?
I'm trying to explain to you that the idea of free will is not as simple as you're making it.
Rain, it's simple yes or no, man. And you can expound if you want. Is his free will, is he using free will to do the deeds of paradise?
So what I'm saying is he is by his own action and by his own will doing these good things. But since God already knows he's going to do these things, and then by a sense allowing them to do it, God is also, basically it's God's will. It's God's will for his free will to choose to do this.
Nice. So he doesn't have free will. Thank you.
Okay. I'm saying that free will doesn't really exist in Christianity either.
Nice.
In a sense, if you want to use that definition of free will.
A two-cold quay doesn't help you, man.
Yeah, it does, because if God is creating humans with the predisposition to sin and knows that they're going to sin and then lets them sin, then God created sin.
Well, see, that's not our religion. God doesn't create us with the predisposition to sin. He doesn't.
So you don't believe in original sin? You don't believe that
that's not what original sin is. That's not what original sin is. So let me clear up this misconception for you. Original sin is the concept that because Adam fell, sin has now entered into the world through Adam and Eve's actions, specifically
by God's will.
No, this is what
God created him knowing he's going to do that.
Can I finish, dude? You asked me. You brought up something. I'm trying to clear up a misconception for you.
Okay.
Let me answer you. So original sin is not that I am guilty of this. I am guilty of sin at birth. It's not what the Bible says. The Bible says we're born into sin. We're born into a fallen world now. And now I am born with the inclination to sin because of the fallen state that I'm in, which then God will correct and redeem by taking away this corrupted flesh, making me whole, taking away this corrupted mindset, this corrupt nature of mine, taking this away. This is not how he made us at first. When he made Adam, it was good. He made Adam and Eve, it was good. They were clean. They were pure. They did not have an urge to rebel against God. They did not glean to disobey God. But once they did that, then the world fell. And now this is the consequence of mankind and how we are born into this world of sin.
So when God created Adam, did he know in his perfect knowledge that he was going to sin?
Of course he did, but he didn't make them.
Okay, so he created them knowing he was going to sin.
Mm-hmm.
So he created the sin.
That doesn't follow, bro.
This is crazy.
That definitely follows. That's the exact line of reasoning I used in this.
So you believe that Allah created child abuse and rape?
God created Satan. God created.
So Allah created
good and evil.
I want to hear you say it.
I don't want you to use buzzwords. God created good and evil. This is an ad hominem. You're just going to use very.
It's not an ad hominem. I'm following.
You're going to try to make it sound like I'm supporting of these ideas. It's not.
I'm not saying that you're supporting of the ideas. You're just saying that Allah is the one who's behind it all. So Allah created rape and child abuse, right?
God created everything, including Satan.
Which includes child abuse and rape?
I'm saying that everything in this world, no matter what, was created.
Why is it so hard to say it? If that's your theology, stand on it. Why is it so hard to say it?
That's general theology, that everything happens with God's will.
So Allah created rape and child abuse, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to fall for your buzzwords.
So basically, Logic, it was
you want to create like a clip or something? Like that's actually disgusting.
To rape and to do all of that. It was Allah's wills, basically. That's what he's trying to tell you about.
You believe that God created Satan.
I
don't know why you think we're different.
You don't believe that, bro.
Notice how I'm not strawmanning you. I'm not misrepresenting your position. You have made your position.
You're trying to create a clip by using buzzwords. That's disingenuous. I
don't do all of that. I don't do all of that. You know, maybe somebody else might.
You believe that God created Satan.
You'll never see on my channel out of context clips. If this conversation is posted, it'll be posted from the beginning of our conversation. So
did God create Satan?
So that's what I'm asking you. All I'm doing is I'm taking you to the logical conclusion of your own position and your own theology. And for some reason, it's hard for you to conclude what it is. You're saying that Allah is the originator of sin. You have no problem saying that. Allah's the one who created sin. You have no problem saying that. So every sinful action, Allah is the one responsible for. You have no problem saying that. So I'm just asking you specifically. So Allah is the one who created rape and child abuse, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you that I'm going to say that sin and good happens because of God's will. I'm not going to use your buzzwords because I just don't think it's appropriate. If you want to go to that conclusion, that's what you want to go to, that's fine. All sin and all good happens with the permission of God.
Can I please ask you a question, Ryan, if you don't mind?
If
my class is about to start. I have to go.
Please, let me ask you just a quick question, if you don't mind.
I literally, it ends in it starts in 3 minutes. I promise you.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna get into a whole other argument. I've been arguing for like 2 hours on here, fam.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been long. Hey, Rain, I want to say thanks for coming through, man. You were respectful. I appreciate it. I had a good time talking with you. So hopefully you come again and we can talk on other subjects.
May God guide us both to the truth. Amen.
Take care.
Thanks for coming, Rain.